Just a little bit of an idea. If you're creating a Z fold, which is an A4 page, and you're having these 3 sections on them. So I've just got a mock-up here to show this is the front and that's the back kind of thing, folds. How do I go about it? Sometimes, you try and work with it and the proportions are not there and so forth. So let me just show you what I do. If I'm going to go for new, I would go A4, and here I would choose a landscape. And then because it's going to be printed where you might have stuff bleeding over the edges, I would go to put on bleed and just put in 3 millimeters there. So this means that when you send it to a printer, they will be able to do the bleed and then cut it off so that colors don't leave a little white spot at the edge. I'll explain a little bit more about that. So if I go now A4 landscape and I create, okay, so there we've got it, and you can see the 3 mil bleed on the side there. If you don't want to see that, you could go to view and where is it? I think it's here, show guides or show bleed. So if I disable it there, you're not going to see it, but it's kind of good thing to know that it's on and you're working there with it. So pretty much if you're going to create anything, let's say we're going to create a color block like this, and we want this color block to be right to the edge. When you do this for printing purposes, you would rather take this right off to the 3 millimeter mark, or you can just take it further. So what's going to happen is, let me say I'm going to put it to the top here. So you do it over the 3 mil bleed. Maybe I should just show you that. Okay, we'll do this in sequence. When I export it, I'll show you what the logic in it is there. It will give you little crop marks which will show where this ends and where the top ends. So this extra blue will basically be cut off. Because if you do it that it just reaches the end, when they print it and they cut, they might cut off a little bit of white paper that shines through on the side here. So that's the reason and purpose for the bleed. Okay, so let me just delete that. So how do we divide this up? I usually like creating an artboard. Click there, insert artboard, and label this maybe as, let's call this front of Z fold. Okay, I'm not going to do the back and all that sort of stuff. You just create a copy of this and do the work on that side also. It's the same thing. The idea I want to get to is how do you kind of compartmentalize it. So if you look here at the width, it's 297, and if we do the math there, we can go, I'm using my phone here. If we're going 297, 97 divided by 3, we're going to get to 99. Okay, so how do we place the actual thing here? What is important is if you look here, there is a 0 here and a 0 here. But if that is not there, because if you make another, or let me just do that. I should plan this thing more structured just to do these things rather this way, and then you with me on it. So this is Z fold. We make this the back. This is the other one. Okay, so this is front and back, and the reason I'm going to do that now, it's because of this particular thing. If I look here at the point here, this is at 0 over here. However, when I look here, I am not too sure where it is. Let me see if I zoom. Yeah, I'm not even too sure where it is there. So what we need to do is get a good reference point, which is the corner here when we're working on this artboard. Okay, so when I click on the artboard, you can see it says 0 here and 0 there. Now, the other thing is you might not be seeing these rulers here. So if you press, is it Control R? Yeah, Control R. It takes it away. Press Control R again and it brings the ruler. I would assume that somewhere here, that would probably be under view is show rulers. Okay, that's the shortcut key. So you can come here and click it also. So that's just to show the rulers. A default artwork board will be on 0 vertical and 0 horizontal. So these measurements that we're going to do for this one will work perfectly here because it's taking this corner as the 0, 0 reference. So what we do is we go into the side panel and we left mouse button down and we drag out, and you'll have this little marker. And we pull it onto the board, and if I let go here, the marker stays there. Okay, then I can go and take another one and drag it here. So how do we cut them off or put them on the exact spot to make the threefold? And remember, this is not going to put any marks on it when you print it out. It's just a guideline. If I go here to view, I can actually switch off the guides here, and these lines will disappear. Look at this. So they'll disappear and show the guidelines. So they're there just to assist you when you're designing. And I'd recommend that you go and put snapping on so that when you're designing, it can snap to this line so that you know it's exact to that and you're not short of it or over it. So let's start off with the first one. If you hover over it, you'll see this side to side arrow. Now you double click on this and you'll have a whole lot of parameters that you can have here. Simple one that we're going to focus on now is this one that's highlighted because I've double clicked on the first one. This one is this other one. So what did we say? It was 99. So if I double click in there and I just put 99, look what happens to the marker here. It shifts to 99. So now if we want to do the math, we are going to say 99 multiplied by 2 is going to be 198. So this other line, I'm going to click here. Or if I go out and I double click here, you'll see it will come to that one there. Okay, so those are the two lines that are on here. That one is going to be 198, which is 99 times 2. Click there, say 198, and look what happens to this other guideline when I press enter. There we go, and we say close. Now I have this separated in thirds. So if I'm going to do any design work, say I'm going to get, let's put this, yeah, I'm going to just go and get maybe an image of a house. Let's put that there. So I'm going here with pixels. For those of you who don't have this little tab open, everything can be opened from the Windows tab, made visible basically. But this is pixels and Pixabay that is freely available. This is freely available images that you can use. So I'm going to use this image. I'm going to just drag across here. It's of course going to be much bigger than the page itself, but that's fine. So I'm going to go here, and do you notice what happens when I come? Actually, you won't particularly notice, but you could see it when I come here, it kind of snaps. Okay, that's because I have that snap feature on. And so I come down here, and there we go. Okay, remember the story we said? Keep the bleed over there. And please don't do what my friend does, this kind of thing, and shrink it. Just keep the proportionality. If you want to get the whole image in, then rather do this, or take it into a program that you can have generative fill to, size the image and keep the content. So what we've done here now is I've got to extend it to that thirds. So this thing is, as I mentioned earlier, is bleeding over into the third. So when we print it out with crop marks, that they cut it there and we'll have a clean line. Okay, so I'm going to just take the same image and I'm going to keep down control and create a clone of it and bring it here. Okay, now you'd notice that this is bigger here because that was actually bleeding on the side there. So I'm going to just take this one and make it exactly there. And if I take this one over here into this column, it's going to fit exactly, but then I'll have to still extend it to bleed it. Keep control and take it up here. Okay, so that fits exactly on the page, but the ones that are at the edges, I need to take and get them bleeding over the edges over there. So there we have the three equal parts there. So you'll do your designs like this. And what's going to help is if you visualize, if this is the front, on the right here is the front of the magazine, then this will be the back and this side will fold over the thing. So you visualize how it's going to be and then the same on this side. If you want certain content to appear, when it's folded over. One of the things you might make a mistake with is you might have this board, this artboard selected, and you go and grab in the left column and you start doing this. And when you look at this particular thing, if you just notice something, I'm going to go Control Z. If you notice here, as I come over, you see it's going on to 368. And you might be wondering what's going on there. But the reason for that is because the first artboard is my reference over here. So it's important that you, if you're going to work on this artboard, click here and you get the 0 and the 0 to reference from this particular side. Then when you go and drag across, you double click on here, you'll have the same setup. We can go 99 and we can even add one on here. You don't have to go and drag another one out. We can actually go from here and click here and add another one and do that as, what was it, 198. And there we have it. Okay, it's out on that side. Now, interestingly enough, if you want to use this, the edge margins, and you're on here, you can pretty much do the same by going where these two meet in the corner. If you go there, if you hover over it, you'll right in the corner. When you drag this, what you are dragging is the 0 point. You see what's happening? You could actually drag it onto the page, that this area, if we go here, from here it's going to be referencing 0 on top and 0 to the left. So if you're working here now and we take this and we move that across, if I double click on this now, you'll see it's on 31. It's not on 99 anymore, it's on 31, because I've moved that actual 0 reference point here. So you can grab it in the corner and move it to wherever you want to. But again, the nice thing is that if you're creating an artboard and you click here, by default, it will put the 0 points at the tip of the artboard. But you can move that 0 point to anywhere on the artboards when you're functioning. Okay, so that's how we separate it in those particular things. Here, if I click here and go 99 again, and this one 198, yeah, it's still right. And then I'll have those three set out over there. Okay, so points to note is that you get your A4. If you're going to do any designs that go to the edge, make sure you have a 3mm for bleed. Then you separate them. If you're doing a bigger than A4, of course, find out what the total width is, and then you can break it into thirds divided by 3, and that will be, you then put 2 markers in that works with that. Make sure that whatever you're doing, just check the 0 points on the top left corner, because you might find that something has been adjusted and now you're working and your measurements are all going to be out because your reference point is not totally clear. Cool. And let me just show you here. I'm going to delete this one. Say delete. I am going to remove these markers here now. Let's show guides. Yeah. Now I'm going to just export this. When I go and export it, I want to show you how these bleeds look. If I just export this as a PNG, it will just show the A4, no bleeds or anything. If I do it as a PDF, I have to specify that I want to see the bleeds or the actual crop marks that are going to go to the printers. So I'd go to File, Export, and you'd actually see the preview coming here if I'm doing it. So look at the PNG there. You see it's just straight here. If I go to a PDF, now mine might default to those previous settings I've been using here. But I'll show you where to switch it on and off. What is important when you're exporting, okay, now it's going to the default, which is no bleed included. And I'll show you how to include the bleed when you send it out to a PDF. By default, this thing goes down to 72 pixels. Just make sure that you go up here and you go there and say PDF for print. Okay, then it will shift to 300. This here is for downsampling the image sizes. Now, I know it's optimal settings, but I just routinely, the file might be much bigger, but I go and I disable sampling, downsampling, and I don't allow JPEG compression. Reason for that is if I'm putting a good quality image there, I'd rather pay for the the big size of the file rather than dropping in quality, and I wouldn't know where the quality drop happens in the whole mix of things. So that is my kind of settings. And then you can, of course, save this as a preset if you want to do it all the time. Now, a lot of people that do printing, and they'll go export here, and they actually don't know that if you take the slider down, there's pretty much a lot of other stuff here. So what we need to do is, and here again, if you are including hyperlinks in that, you can do your settings. But my focus here is this one here that says include bleeds and include printer marks. Now, the printer marks are marks in the corners where they'll position the pages, etc. And also it gives a little palette at the bottom of the colors that are being used in it. So if I click here, you will see it will generate it. And I don't think I'm going to print this into a PDF necessarily, because this preview will probably be sufficient. Let's see. Takes a little while now to pull out all the color parameters. Okay, so there you can see it gives the colors and the tones. And now I will print it so we can zoom in a bit better. So there is your little sort of positioning marks. However, we're not seeing any there are crop marks, but the crop marks are right at the edge. Let me see, can I zoom in here? Not really on my screen, but it's not too clear. But the crop marks where it must be cut is right on the edges of the image, because I haven't included the bleed. Once I included the bleed, it will show the amount that goes over the crop marks. And let's just click here. You're going to see a difference. Just look here where my mouse is. There's a line that goes at the edge of this image. If I click include, it regenerates, and it will now show a little amount. Remember when we designed it, we pulled it over. So we'll see it over there. Now I'm going to just export because it's a bit too tiny. Okay, so actually I labeled it incorrectly, my bad. It does have crop marks but no bleed. So the crop marks, so the printers will use these little areas to align this when they position the thing, print and cut and all that sort of stuff. So here the crop marks are there. So there are crop marks, but there's no bleed. So if they print this, they've got to cut on this line and it's going to go perfectly. Now if it's a 0.5 millimeter off, then you're going to have little white lines that occur on the edges. That's why we have the bleed. That's why we take the images, or even if it's a piece of vector that goes right to the edge, we always take it 3 mils plus over the edge, because then the bleed will have it in. So let's have a look at what the one looks like with the bleed. And you'll see why it's so important when we send it to the printer to have the crop marks and the 3 millimeter bleed over there. Can you see here? So when they cut here, now they're cutting into the image, but this part of the image in your design is not part of the design. It's actually overlapping. And there, that is overlapping. So if they cut there and they cut there, it's going to perfectly end on the image itself. Here, exactly the same. Okay, and then towards the bottom you have all the color palettes here that will be used in design, and these are different sort of grayscale tones. Okay, so the crop mark with the bleed is essential when you're having colors right at the end, so photos right at the end that's touching the edge. That's where you need to do that extension. Okay, so if you don't have anything towards the end and the image is white, you're not going to lose out much. But crop marks are essential, even if you don't have pictures that go to the edge, because the printers need to know where they're going to guillotine the actual document, and the crop marks help them with that particular thing. Okay, good. Hopefully that helps somebody who's busy with creating this little Z folder, or using the concept of using also these these guides when you are laying out stuff. It's actually a good thing to do if you're working in certain zones or structures on a page. Even the other thing is, for which I didn't mention, you might want to take from the top also. You can pull down. If you're working here, you can pull that one and pull another one if you're wanting designs that kind of work across and keep within boundaries. Okay, so, and then a quick way of getting rid of them besides going to the menu is you take it and you drag it off the page. You take that and it will go away. Okay, so hopefully that helps you. Have a great day. Be blessed and shalom to everybody.